Everybody asking, when will cruising resume? Well, the more important question is, are you the gatekeeper? Who's the gatekeeper? That's the question. And let me give you a hint at the answer. It's not the cruise lines. In today's episode of the Lido Loca cruise show, let's talk about who's got the power. Who's your daddy when it comes to cruising again? It's the CDC. Here we go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Lido Loca cruise show. I'm your host, Quarantoni. Kicking off with a little metal today because my hair is getting long. If you enjoy that cruising and travel content, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. If I can quote the illustrious Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, sometimes you just got to shut your mouth and know your role. We've watched the cruise lines over the last few months continue to push the date forward as to when cruising would resume, all the time raising our hands saying, well, the dates that you're putting out there, the CDC, that's still before the CDC says you can even sail. And now there has been an alignment. The major cruise lines, Royal Caribbean, Carnival Cruise Corporation, Norwegian Cruise Lines, now they've all established a date in August that finally is beyond the July 24th expiration of the CDC's no-sail order. So now all of the rigmarole has been erased, and now we have 2 months to wait to see whether or not the CDC will let that no-sail order expire. And that is the rub out there, boys and girls. Just in case you've got it wrong, just in case you are unsure and you think the cruise lines are going to be able to just fire up cruising whenever they want, that's just not the case. The CDC holding all of the power given to them by the United States government to have jurisdiction over what goes on the cruise ports. That's what I like to call the gatekeeper. You got to appease the gatekeeper so they'll open the gate. And what does that look like for the cruise lines? I see a lot of people up in arms with their pitchforks and their torches. If the cruise lines change what cruising looks like going forward, I'm just not going to do it. I ain't going to do it. You can't tell me what to do. Well, good. That means you're not going to be on my cruise making me have a bad time. Because if you don't follow the rules, you're not going to get to go cruising. Now, what are the rules? We don't know. Everybody's going to speculate about it. I've speculated about it. There's 100 other people out there talking about cruising, speculating about it. We just don't know. All we can do is look at the signals coming down the pike, or we can look at what's happened in the past and speculate. You want to do that right now? Let's do it one more time. Before the cruise lines voluntarily quit cruising in March, before they were told to quit cruising, before they voluntarily quit cruising in March, they put in place some pretty heavy-duty guidelines that were based on the CDC's guidelines. The CDC laying it out there that when it comes to the coronavirus, there are people that are more susceptible to having a bad time with the coronavirus than others. And so they put some guidelines out, and the cruise lines adopted them. You'll remember it. It got everybody up in arms. It put a bug in everybody's underpants. Things like if you are 70 years or older, you got to get your physician to sign a doctor's note for you. And if you are 18 or younger, your parents have to write you a permission slip. That last part is facetious. The 70 with the doctor's note was something that was in place. And then they targeted people with pre-existing conditions. They had a whole list. If you have any of these pre-existing conditions, no cruise ship for you. Now, is that going to be the case when cruising starts again? I don't know. Could it be? Possibly. Do I think that it's always going to be the case for cruising? No. So if you're in my little hut and, you've given me $40 and we're, mixing chicken bones and I'm looking at your palm and I'm flipping over the latest deck of bicycle cards trying to figure out what your future is, I don't think cruising's always going to be super restrictive, but this is the deal. Here's the deal. You can call me to task on this. Let's make a small wager. I could be right. I could be wrong, but I do believe that in the beginning, cruising will be a little restrictive. I believe there will be social distancing practices put in place, and I do think maybe there could be face coverings. Let's not talk about face coverings. Everybody's so sensitive about face coverings. I can't wear face You know who you are. Go cry somewhere else. No, really, I do think that cruising will be a little more restrictive in the beginning. I don't think it will be forever. And I do think there's the possibility that some people won't be able to cruise right when cruising starts up again. And I think that's okay for the cruise lines. The cruise lines, they're already like, we don't want everybody to cruise at the beginning. We got to figure out a way to just reopen. You can't flip the switch and willy-nilly. The floodgates are open. Carnival put together a plan. Just a few ships, just a few ports. Royal Caribbean came out in their announcement, said we think that cruising will start again with just a few ships. Norwegian Cruise Line, we will think cruising will start again with just a few ships. So listen to the leadership of the cruise industry, listen to the CDC, and paint yourself a picture of what cruising could look like before you get all bunched up down in your nether regions. I share this out of love and compassion. I feel the pain of a lot of people out there who, yes, we all like to speculate, but man, if you're always speculating the worst and having the worst reaction, you're going to make yourself crazy. We don't know what it's going to be. So why get worked up until you know what it's going to be? And look, there are the signposts out there. There are the signals. You can look at other industries. I would pay close attention to the theme park industry. Everybody's talking about, well, what about the airlines? They give cruise lines a hard time, but what about the airlines? The airlines and the cruise lines are not closely related at all. The airlines are going to have their own issues to deal with. But if you want to look for the signals as to what may happen when it comes to cruising, I would look at the hotel industry. I would look at the theme park industry, because I believe those are more closely aligned to the industry of cruising. So where does that leave us today? Why does any of this matter? Here we sit, the end of May, cruising set to resume here in the United States, August the 1st, if nothing else changes. The path is there. The no-sail order will expire and cruise lines will be able to begin cruising if, and this is a big if they get the blessing from their daddy, the CDC. Now, the cruise lines will work closely with the CDC. There are advocacy groups like CLIA, the Cruise Line International Association. The cruise lines will be working with the CDC. CLIA will be working with the CDC, and they will be trying to come up with health protocols. They will be trying to come up with procedures that gets daddy to pat them on the head, gets daddy to take away the no-sail order, and lets cruising resume. You know, here's the thing that bites you in the butt. These aren't American companies, and the CDC is an American organization with America's interest at heart. And you can't say the same for the cruise lines. Unfortunately, the cruise lines, they employ a lot of Americans, but they made the choice not to be American companies. And so, yeah, everybody's rightly pointed out that America, they don't have to bend to the will of the cruise lines. It's unfortunate. Now, they do have a big advocate. I've heard the president of the United States mention the CEO of Carnival by name and talked about how good Carnival Corporation is as a company. So that guy can get stuff done, whether you like him or not. So the cruise lines may have a friend there. You got a friend in me. Everybody knows Randy Newman, right? But we'll see. There's some contention between the man at the top and the CDC, so it's going to be interesting. But I think the easiest path to cruising is watching this no-sail order expire, some sort of agreement between the CDC and the cruise lines as to what the new health protocols are, and then people are going to get on the cruise ship. I think cruising is going to be strong in 2021. There's going to be these test runs in 2020, seeing whether people get sick or not, whether if they do, they can get them off the cruise ship. These are all the things that are going to have to be tested in the days to come. How will the cruise lines respond to an outbreak if that happens? How will the cruise lines prevent an outbreak? These are all of the tests that are going to be coming down the line, and the people that are getting on the cruise ships in 2020, they're going to be part of that. I'm going to be cruising in October. I'm ready to be part of that. And yes, I'm excited to see cruising reopen. At the same time, I want everybody to be as safe and healthy as possible. I don't know if you know it or not, but we are in an interesting period during this pandemic where we went through the first phase of it, where we all hunkered down. We all stayed at home. We tried to keep the number of cases low. We all stayed at home. We tried not to overwhelm the health system. We tried to keep the deaths as low as possible. 90,000 deaths in less than 3 months just in the United States. That's a lot, but we did our best to keep that number as low as possible. And now here we are, Memorial Day weekend, and everything's starting to open back up. Pay close attention for the next 2 or 3 weeks to see how the country reacts to the reopening. The hope is that it will not be significant, that we will not see a new spike. And if it doesn't spike, then we continue to slide back into life as we know it. We continue to put the pieces back together to figure out what we do next, and cruising is part of that puzzle. I feel very satisfied, though, now that the dates that the cruise lines have are in alignment with the expiration of the CDC no-sell order. I do see that as something that we can be encouraged about. And then likewise, there's a whole conversation going on with places that cruise ships visit. Some people still saying a hard no, we don't want your cruise ships. But some of those places that we're all familiar with in the Caribbean are like, please, cruises, come back, we're ready. Come to the Bahamas. The Bahamas are ready to take on some tourists, and that makes it good. If the cruise lines have a couple places that they can go, if they have some guidelines that they can put in place to do their best to keep people safe. So yeah, when will U.S. cruises resume? I'm saying August. I believe in it. I don't see any roadblocks yet. It could change next week with a new announcement. But as it lines up now, I say go ahead, get that door decoration ready. Get your mindset for whether you're going to remove the prepaid gratuities and what are you going to wear to formal night. Let's get back to thinking about things in cruising that are important, the things that we like to talk about, and try to put this behind us. We can't put it behind us right now, but let's play like that. So we take a little metal break before it's over. I'm not going to have this hair forever. Might as well, right? Okay, enough of that. Are you the gatekeeper? You know what movie that's from. The question for the comments is this: how confident are you that cruising will start in August? Are you mad that the CDC is the cruise line's daddy? And I don't know. What did you think about the new Ghostbusters with all the ladies? I liked it. Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for stopping by. This is Tony with the Lido Loca Cruise Show. And have a great Memorial Day weekend. And until the next time, see you on the Lido. Bye. Au revoir. Deuces.